Shedeur Sanders is extremely talented and well and capable of being a player in the NFL.
Cam Newton just said something that has the whole NFL world talking. There's a quarterback who hasn't even played one game yet, but his name is everywhere. His name is Shedeur Sanders, and the drama around him keeps getting bigger and bigger.
I really think Shedeur Sanders has enough cachet and talent to have trade value.
So here's what's happening. Shedeur plays for the Cleveland Browns, but he's stuck as the third-string quarterback. That means two other guys are ahead of him. The Browns just benched their starter, Joe Flacco, because he was playing really bad. But guess what? They didn't give Shedeur the job. Instead, they're starting a guy named Dillon Gabriel, and Flacco is still the backup. Shedeur is still sitting on the bench watching from the sidelines. Now, this might not sound like a big deal at first. Teams bench players all the time, right? But Cam Newton, the former NFL superstar, just came out and said something that shocked everyone. He thinks the Browns don't actually want Shedeur to succeed. Newton believes Cleveland is keeping Shedeur around just for business reasons, not because they want him to play. Let me explain how we got here. When the Browns picked Shedeur in the 5th round of the draft, a lot of people were surprised. This is a kid who was supposed to be amazing. He played at Colorado, his dad is the legendary Deion Sanders, and he got tons of attention everywhere he went. Some people thought he'd go way earlier in the draft, maybe even in the 1st round. But that didn't happen. Nick Wright, who's a sports talk guy, explained why on Cam Newton's show. Wright said that many teams didn't see Shedeur as a top pick. Once you're not picked in the 1st round, teams don't draft you to be the starter right away. But here's the twist that Wright pointed out. He said Shedeur has the same problem Cam Newton had when he was younger. Wright wasn't talking about their football skills. He was talking about their personality and how much attention they get. Newton himself said he had too big of an aura to be a backup. Teams don't want to deal with all the media questions and attention if you're not the guy playing. Wright said, "That's what teams were thinking about Shedeur. He's famous, he's confident, and everybody wants to talk about him. For a backup quarterback, that can be a problem. Teams worry it becomes a distraction." So the Browns took a chance and drafted him anyway. But now we're in week 5 of the season, and Shedeur still hasn't played. The Browns are 1-3. They're losing games. Joe Flacco has been terrible. He threw 2 interceptions in their last game and they lost 34-10. Flacco is ranked 34th out of all quarterbacks in something called the QB impact score. That's crazy because there are only 32 teams in the league. He's literally worse than the worst starter. So the Browns finally benched Flacco. Everyone thought this was Shedeur's moment, but nope, they gave the job to Dillon Gabriel instead. Gabriel was their 3rd-round pick, taken way before Shedeur. He's only thrown 4 passes this season, but he completed 3 of them and threw a touchdown. The coach, Kevin Stefanski, likes what he sees from Gabriel in practice. This is where Cam Newton steps in and drops his big theory. On his podcast called 4th and Own, Newton said, "That's a serious accusation." Newton explained his thinking. He looked at Shedeur's preseason games and saw a pattern. In the first preseason game against Carolina, Shedeur played well. He threw 2 touchdowns and looked good. Newton said that's because Shedeur had decent players around him. But in the second preseason game, Shedeur got hurt and couldn't play. Then in the 3rd game against the Rams, he struggled badly. He got sacked 5 times and lost 41 yards. Newton says that's because the Browns put him out there with the worst players on the team. Newton called them trash. His point was simple: if you want to see if Shedeur is good, put him with the good players. Don't set him up to fail with the bad ones. Newton even laid out his conspiracy theory about why the Browns are doing this. He said, "What Newton means is that Shedeur brings a lot of attention wherever he goes. His dad is famous, he's on social media, people talk about him all the time. Some teams think that's too much drama, especially for a backup. But here's Newton's theory about why Cleveland keeps him anyway. He thinks the Browns know that if they cut Shedeur, another team will sign him immediately. And if Shedeur goes somewhere else and becomes good, Cleveland will look really stupid. Plus, Shedeur sells tickets and gets people talking." Newton said, "He's good for business on our roster." Newton even pointed out that the Browns have never had a player like this before. He said, "That means Shedeur makes people pay attention to the Browns in a way nobody else does. But wait, there's more drama. A guy named Rex Ryan, who used to coach in the NFL and now talks about football on TV, came after Shedeur hard. Ryan called Shedeur an embarrassment on ESPN. He told Shedeur to get in the front row and study more. Ryan was basically saying Shedeur talks too much and doesn't work hard enough. Ryan didn't have any proof. He didn't talk to anyone on the Browns. He just said it, and that made Cam Newton really mad. Newton fired back on his show and said, "Rex Ryan, you have to come forth with the source. You can't just regurgitate BS because it's impacting his value for other teams." Newton's point is important. Even though Shedeur is third string, other teams might want to trade for him someday. But if guys like Rex Ryan are on TV saying Shedeur doesn't study and doesn't work hard, other teams might believe it. That could hurt Shedeur's career before it even really starts, even if it's not true. Nick Wright backed Newton up on this. Wright said, "Think about that. In most jobs, being famous and popular helps you. But if you're a backup NFL quarterback, being famous can actually hurt you because teams think you're a distraction." Then Shedeur did something that got everyone talking even more. When reporters came to interview him about being third string, he didn't say anything. Instead, he just moved his mouth without making sounds. He mimed his answers. He smiled, shrugged, and stayed silent. The video went viral immediately. Some people thought this was funny and smart. They said Shedeur was making a point about how everyone criticizes him no matter what he says. But other people got mad. One person on social media said, "This is immature and a distraction to the team, coming from a third-string, fifth-round reserve quarterback." See what happened there? When Shedeur talks, people say he's too cocky. When he stays quiet, people say he's immature. He can't win either way. Cam Newton noticed this too. He talked about his own experience as a young black quarterback with a lot of personality. Newton said, "When you're a young black quarterback with star power, that's the thing they can't wait to say." He was talking about people telling players to be humble all the time. Nick Wright added to this by pointing out something uncomfortable. He said that some players get called confident and cool, while others get called arrogant and cocky. And sometimes, who gets which label depends on what they look like. Wright said, "For some, confidence is aura. For others, it's arrogance. And who gets which label often depends on who's watching." Shedeur's sister, Shedeur Sanders, even jumped in to defend her brother. After the news came out about Dillon Gabriel starting, she posted on social media calling Shedeur Boss Man. She was showing support and also making it clear she thought the Browns were wrong. So where does this leave us? Shedeur Sanders is a fifth-round pick who's getting more attention than some starting quarterbacks. He hasn't played a single real game, but he's everywhere in the news. Cam Newton says the Browns are keeping him around for business but not really giving him a fair shot to succeed. The Browns are about to play the Minnesota Vikings in London with Dillon Gabriel starting. If Gabriel plays great, Shedeur might stay on the bench for a long time. But if Gabriel struggles like Joe Flacco did, then Shedeur moves one step closer to getting his chance.
Third quarterback. Vocally, anything to say?
Stephen A. Smith just went off on the Cleveland Browns, and he did not hold back one bit. The Browns made a really strange choice with their quarterbacks, and Stephen A. is asking one simple question. What are they thinking? So here's what happened. The Browns are having a terrible season. They're 1-3, which means they've lost 3 games and only won 1. That's really bad. And the main problem, their starting quarterback, Joe Flacco, just wasn't getting the job done. Now, Joe Flacco is a legend. He's 40 years old, he won a Super Bowl way back in the day, and he's been playing football for 18 years. But let's be real. Father Time catches up with everyone. Even the best players get old and can't play like they used to. So the Browns decided to make a change. They benched Flacco, which means they took him out of the starting spot. That part makes sense, right? If someone's not playing well, you try someone new. The new starter is Dillon Gabriel. He's a rookie, which means this is his first year in the NFL. The Browns picked him in the 3rd round of the draft. Gabriel was actually really good in college. He won his conference's Offensive Player of the Year award and was in the top 10 for the Heisman Trophy, which is basically the biggest award a college football player can win. But here's where things get crazy. The Browns have another rookie quarterback named Shedeur Sanders. You might know his dad, Deion Sanders, also called Coach Prime. Deion was one of the best players ever, and now he coaches at Colorado. Shedeur played for his dad in college and was really, really good. A lot of people thought Shedeur would get picked in the 1st round of the draft. That's when teams pick the best players, but something happened and he dropped all the way to the 5th round. The Browns picked him at number 144. So now the Browns have 3 quarterbacks. Dillon Gabriel is the starter. That's the guy who plays in games. Behind him, they have a backup, which is the 2nd quarterback who plays if something happens to the starter. And then there's a 3rd-string quarterback, which is basically the 3rd choice. Now, logic says this. If you're benching your old starting quarterback because he's not playing well, you'd probably want your young, talented backup as the second guy, right? Like, if Gabriel gets hurt or struggles, you'd want your best young player ready to go. But that's not what the Browns did. They kept Joe Flacco as the backup, the same guy they just benched because he wasn't good enough to start, and Shedeur Sanders, he's still third string. Still the third choice. And that's when Stephen A. Smith lost it. Stephen A. went on his show, The Stephen A. Smith Show, and he did not hold back. He said, "Why you got Joe Flacco at QB2 when you know it should be Shedeur Sanders? QB2 means the second quarterback, the backup." Then Stephen A. said the word that got everyone talking. He said, "Politics, politics, politics." What does that mean? Well, Stephen A. is saying the Browns aren't making this decision based on who's better. They're making it based on other reasons. Maybe they don't want to hurt Flacco's feelings. Maybe they think having a veteran around is important, but Stephen A. thinks it's not about football talent, it's about politics. He explained it like this. He said Joe Flacco is supposed to be a stopgap. That means he's just there temporarily while the young guys learn. He's supposed to be a mentor, someone who teaches the younger players. And that's fine because Father Time catches up to all of us. Flacco is no longer what he used to be. Everyone knows this. So why is he still the backup instead of Shedeur Sanders? That's what Stephen A. wants to know. And honestly, a lot of people are asking the same question. Now, here's where the story gets even stranger. On Wednesday, after the Browns announced Dillon Gabriel was the new starter, reporters wanted to talk to all three quarterbacks. They wanted to hear from Flacco, from Gabriel, and from Shedeur Sanders. When reporters went to Shedeur in the locker room, something really weird happened. They asked him questions, and he answered them. But here's the thing, no sound came out of his mouth. Shedeur Sanders literally mouthed his answers. He moved his lips like he was talking, he smiled, he made gestures with his hands, but he didn't make a single sound. It was like watching a mime, those street performers who pretend to be trapped in invisible boxes. Reporters asked him about staying as the third-string quarterback. He smiled and mouthed an answer, no words. They asked him, vocally, anything to say about it? Still no words. They asked, what do you think you have to show the coaches to have the belief in you that you're ready? He started mouthing his answer before they even finished asking. Still no sound. One reporter just asked, what can you say? Nope, still silent.
How much is Joe important to both you and Dillon in terms of your guys' development to this point?
They even asked about Joe Flacco and how he's helped both Shedeur and Dillon develop. For that one, you could kind of read his lips. It looked like he said, Joe's a great guy. But still, no actual words came out. The whole thing went viral. A video of Shedeur doing this started going around on social media, and everyone had an opinion. So why did Shedeur do this? Well, there's a pretty good reason. A few days before, a guy named Rex Ryan went on ESPN. Rex used to be a head coach in the NFL, and now he talks about football on TV. And Rex absolutely tore into Shedeur Sanders. See, the week before, Shedeur had done an interview with ESPN Cleveland. He was being honest about his feelings. He said,
I know if you see the quarterback play in the league right now, I know I'm capable of doing better than that.
He also said, I'm ready to play right now. Now, is Shedeur confident? Absolutely. But that's not surprising. His dad is Deion Sanders, one of the most confident athletes ever. Shedeur has been this way since college. He believes in himself. But Rex Ryan did not like those comments at all. On Monday, Rex went on a show called Get Up, and he went off. Rex said, something's missing with this kid. This kid talks and he runs his mouth. Like he said, I can be a starting quarterback with his arms crossed like this. Then Rex got really harsh. He said, get your ass in the front row and study and do all that. If I know, the whole league knows. Quit being an embarrassment that way. You got the talent to be the quarterback, you should be. You should be embarrassed that you're not the quarterback now. That's pretty brutal. So when Wednesday came around and Shedeur had to talk to reporters again, he apparently decided, you know what? People criticize me for talking too much. Fine, I won't talk at all. ESPN reporter Adam Schefter actually confirmed this. A team official told Schefter that Shedeur was responding to Rex Ryan's comments with his silent treatment. Even Shedeur's mom, Pilar, got involved. She defended her son on social media and called Rex Ryan evil for what he said. Now, some people thought Shedeur's silent act was brilliant. NFL reporter Josina Anderson posted on social media saying, Good for Shedeur. Coming for more things to criticize? Yes? No? Doesn't matter. Not today. Go talk Dylan Gabriel and Joe Flacco. She thought it was a smart move. Like, if people are going to criticize everything you say, just don't say anything. Other people compared it to famous moments in NFL history. Remember Marshawn Lynch? He used to just say, "I'm just here so I won't get fined," over and over to reporters. Bill Belichick once just kept saying, "We're on to Cincinnati," no matter what anyone asked him. So maybe Shedeur was doing something similar. But a lot of people thought it was a bad idea. They said Shedeur is a rookie. He's a 5th-round pick who hasn't even played in a real game yet. He hasn't earned the right to pull stunts like this with the media.
Saquon Barkley just said something about Daniel Jones that nobody saw coming. The Eagles star is now cheering harder for his old teammate than almost anyone else in the NFL, and his words are making everyone take notice. The Philadelphia Eagles superstar running back didn't hold back when reporters asked about his former teammate. Barkley looked them straight in the eye and said, "Outside of the Philadelphia Eagles and myself, I want no one else to perform at a high level besides Daniel Jones." Wait, what? The same Daniel Jones who was basically laughed out of New York? The quarterback who ended up running scout team as a safety during practice before getting cut? Yeah, that Daniel Jones. And Barkley isn't just being nice here. He's dead serious about it. Let's rewind and understand how we got to this point. Both Barkley and Jones started their careers as high draft picks for the New York Giants. For 5 long years, they battled together through some of the most frustrating football you've ever seen. While other teams were putting up points, the Giants' offense looked like they were playing with their hands tied behind their backs. Jones had one bright spot in 2022 when he actually looked like a franchise quarterback. That season, he posted a career-high 67.2% completion rate, threw for over 3,200 yards, and added 708 rushing yards with 7 rushing touchdowns. The Giants made the playoffs and even upset the Minnesota Vikings in the wild card round. Everything seemed to be clicking. But then the wheels fell off. The Giants handed Jones a massive 4-year, $160 million contract, and it turned into one of the worst deals in recent memory. From 2023 to 2024, Jones was brutal. Out of 57 quarterbacks who threw at least 300 passes, he ranked 42nd in completion rate, 54th in touchdown rate, and 53rd in passer rating. The injuries piled up and fans turned on him completely. Meanwhile, Barkley was dealing with his own drama. After carrying that offense for years, the Giants couldn't agree on a new contract. His final 2 seasons got rocky, and when free agency came around, New York let him walk. Where did he go? To their biggest rival, the Philadelphia Eagles. Both players left New York feeling like they had something to prove, and boy, have they ever proved it. Barkley's first season in Philadelphia was absolutely insane. He rushed for an NFL record 2,504 yards, including the postseason, and helped the Eagles win the Super Bowl. He was named Offensive Player of the Year, and reminded everyone just how good he really is when he's not playing behind a terrible offensive line. But here's where it gets really interesting. While everyone expected Barkley to bounce back, nobody saw what Daniel Jones was about to do in Indianapolis coming. After getting released by the Giants mid-season, Jones spent the rest of 2024 on the Minnesota Vikings practice squad. It was rock bottom for a guy who had been a starting NFL quarterback just months earlier. When the Indianapolis Colts offered him a 1-year deal worth $14 million, Jones took a pay cut from what he could have made elsewhere. He was betting on himself one more time.
Yeah, divisional games are big for sure. But yeah, being 3-0, I think is obviously where you want to be at this point, and played some good football. So fun start for us. We got to build.
The Colts already had Anthony Richardson, the 4th overall pick from 2023, waiting in the wings. Most people figured Jones would be a backup at best, but under head coach Shane Steichen, something magical started happening. Jones won the starting job outright, beating out the young Richardson in training camp. And then he went out and absolutely stunned the entire NFL. Through his first 2 games with Indianapolis, Jones completed 71.4% of his passes for 588 yards, 2 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. His passer rating of 111.1 is nearly 20 points higher than his previous career best. He leads the entire league in yards per attempt at 9.3, ranks 2nd in passing yards per game, and is tied for the best interception rate because he hasn't thrown one yet. But here's the crazy part. The Colts made NFL history. They became the first team ever to not punt a single time in their first 2 games of a season. Think about that for a second. Every single drive was either ending in points or a turnover.